Everybody. The Italian Cinema London is proud to host this evening the London premiere of the Great European Disaster movie.
Obviously the film's a provocation, but in an election in Britain where most people don't even think the European Union is an issue, and yet where we could actually be heading for the back, to leave, depending on the results of the general election and a referendum afterwards. I think this film is a really important reminder about the roots of the European Union and the fact that probably Europe needs to rediscover them.
I thought it was a very moving film. Really moving, and it reminded me about how keen I was on Europe. When you live in England, it's quite easy to think, oh gosh, Europe, 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 but it's so good to have someone put the arguments in front of you so clearly and movingly.
But watch it, because we are too complacent. We seem to think that things can carry on as they are, but in reality they can't. I think there's been a lot of popular uprising, and what is happening with this popular uprising is that you get extremes coming now, becoming contenders for power. And I think that, if anything, is going to pull, the countries apart, even internally, and also Europe apart.
I think the film is really good. It actually did bring me to tears. I have to admit, for very personal reasons as well, because I'm obviously part of the organisation of the president in the UK, because I feel really strongly about the European identity and of all of us working together and actually learning from each other's diversity.
I think the film challenged a lot of stereotypes about Europe and said the unsayable, or in a way, was prepared to say things that the mainstream media was not prepared to say. And I think it's quite right to present the catastrophe aspect of the current situation, because nobody really wants to have the main debate about Europe. And for that reason, the film is very important, I think.
So I think it's a really important film and a really interesting contribution, but I think the really important thing is that people actually get to see it, and particularly maybe the younger sort of first-time voters, that kind of thing, so they could really understand some of the issues in which they probably don't at the moment.
I really liked the half-fictionalized, half-documentary approach, and I really enjoyed that because it's something you don't come across very often.
The final scene in which there is this girl with a parachute, and it really captures the essence of a young girl who saves herself, and it's up to her then now to make up the future. So that's a great, it's a great image to leave the spectator with.
And I think challenging the idea that the EU we have at the moment is the only EU. There is possible to build a better one, a more democratic one.